You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I'm Ashley Winch in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And I'm Kat Gunther from White Lake, Michigan. You're listening to the Quarter Horse Podcast for Thursday, October 15th. Good morning, Horse World.
You're listening to the Quarter Horse Podcast, where we explore the versatility of the world's most popular breed of horse, the American Quarter Horse.
That's right, you guys. We're back. We're back in action, Jackson. Kat, I've missed you so much.
I've missed you so much too, Ashley. I loved having Glenn on here. Don't get me wrong, he is wonderful, but
we love Glenn.
The original. We love Glenn.
Well, you know, there's just some kind of magic when you get two crazy horse girls on a couple of microphones.
I know. The craziness amplifies.
Literally, I love it. And the puns just come out naturally. I mean, come on.
Oh, yes. And for people who don't know, Ashley's coming back from maternity leave. So maybe if you want to tell us a little bit about how that was.
Oh, it was, I mean, you know, having a baby, wild. Emergency C-section. So that was pretty stressful. But Levi Alexander Winch entered the world on July 9th at 7:55 a.m. And he's been, people are going to hate me for saying this, but he's been a really easy baby. He's not that fussy. He's just like a happy little dude. I've been posting some pictures in the Auditor Mom group, and I know I should probably share some in our big normal auditor group because he's just so darn cute. And I, of course, am incredibly biased to that opinion.
Oh, he's so cute. He is so cute. I just think he needs a pony. Like, that's the next step.
I know it. I know. And if Zach wasn't in the military, we would have one yesterday. But it doesn't mean we can't go on pony rides, or at least Mom goes on rides. I'm just trying.
Okay,
I'm waiting. That. I'm waiting to get out on that trail. I am working on my leads. And I'll get back in a saddle shortly. But hey, at least I'm back talking horses, which is, I mean, it itches that scratch. You know what I mean?
Yes. I'm excited for you to be back.
Oh, I'm just so happy. I've missed you and everybody else too, which transitions us to a shout out we wanted to give an auditor, Kendra, who after listening to August's episode of the Quarter Horse Podcast on the Equine Trail Sports Organization, felt so inspired, Kat. She went to a show herself. And she highly recommends everyone trying it if you get a chance. Kendra said that it was super casual, low-key, and inexpensive, which you never hear in the same sentence as a horse competition. And she loved the way it was set up. She said it was great for horses or riders that are new to competing or have been away for a while. Kendra's horse was a little spooky and certain that these obstacles were going to eat him alive, so she didn't take any ribbons home. But each of the judges were able to award a shout out, and Kendra got one for good horsemanship.
Well, now you got a shout out on the Quarter Horse Podcast too. So way to go, Kendra. That is so exciting. And now we're going to talk about the ranch riding. So I'm so excited for today's show. We're going to talk all about ranch riding and the ranch classes. And for those who don't know, so according to the AQHA website, the ranch riding horse should simulate a horse riding outside the confines of an arena and reflect the versatility, attitude, and movement of a working horse.
And what about the ranch classes? What do those consist of?
So ranch classes often incorporate elements of real ranch work like cattle handling and obstacle courses. It's a great way to test a horse's versatility and see how they might perform in a working environment.
Oh, I love an obstacle course. I did one with my Mustang makeover. And as an English rider, you know, where my past has been, I was really quite intimidated, but it's a lot of fun and it's practical. A lot of the stuff that you do in the obstacle classes, you do, you know, at a ranch, like these classes are built or designed for. So whether you're a seasoned quarter horse enthusiast or just curious about the breed, we've got you covered, of course. In this episode, we're going to discuss the different types of ranch classes, the benefits of participating, and even share some tips for getting started.
That's right. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the exciting world of ranch riding and ranch classes. First up joining us is Kristin. Our first guest today is Kristin Darnall Titov, an accomplished ranch riding exhibitor and the CEO of Hobby Horse Show Clothing. She has won numerous awards at big shows such as the NSBA World Show in this event. Let's welcome Kristin. So Kristin, can you just tell me about how you started ranch riding, how you fell in love with it? Just where did it all begin?
So I actually come from a reining background. I have done reining for many, many years. Over $100,000 rider. I've been top 20 non-pro a couple times. And I had a hard horse, Pickles. And I mean, we were reserved with the fraternity. Like he's my, he's my horse, the hard horse thing. And he couldn't do the reining anymore. So I was like, okay, well, we'll find something else he can do. And stumbled into ranch riding. And it was so fun. No one had more fun at a ranch show than Pickles, human or equine. Like, he just loved it. And so when your horse is having fun, you're having fun. And
I have to say, I love the name Pickles. Is there a story with that? Or is that just, did he come with that name?
Well, kind of. So he was with Craig Smersel when we got him May of his 3-year-old year. And they were calling him Spider. I'm arachnophobic. So I couldn't even say my horse's name. Like, this is not okay. And so Patrick was riding him around at Westworld for, I don't remember what show. There was something he was riding him around, my trainer at the time. And Mandy McCutcheon walked up and she's like, oh, you ended up with Pickles. And Patrick's like, what's a Pickles? Apparently a little girl on the ranch had actually named him Pickles when he was born. Like, she watched him be born and named him Pickles. And somehow, however he got to where we got him from, the name changed to Spider. So back to Pickles.
So, Pickles to Spider to Pickles. I love it. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about Pickles? Like, what did you love about him? Is he still with us? Do you still show him?
He's alive.
Okay, good.
But, he's alive, but he is now a walk trot horse for a 9-year-old little boy. So I do still own him, but they're leasing him and they love him. And he does ranch classes. Okay. Like, he loves it. Like, literally, so the ranch on the rail, we call it ranch party for Pickles because he just loves it. Like, he goes around with his ears up, he's licking his lips, like, he is just so happy. So now he still gets to do that, but with a little boy, and it's kind of the perfect scenario.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. Can you explain to me?
Sorry.
Oh, no, I just like ranch on the rail versus the patterns. Like, I've watched some ranch riding classes, but I've never participated. So I don't really, if you had to explain to someone like me who has no idea, what would you say?
There's 3 different ranch classes at most AQHA shows. And there's the ranch riding, which is a pattern. It may have an obstacle, like a walkover or something, but for the most part, it's flat. It's a pattern. Then you have the ranch trail, which is like we call city trail, but it's country trail, where you'll have all kinds of different obstacles, opening gates, walkovers, jogovers, lopovers, maybe even a jump. At the NSBA World Championship, we had to jump over a hay bale. So you don't know, like, it could be any number of obstacles. You can drag things, like dally onto your saddle horn and drag things, carry slickers, like, your horse just has to be up for whatever. And then working ranch rail is where it's kind of like a Western pleasure class, but for horses that are ranch horses. So it's more forward, and it's it's just a rail class, but your horse is being judged on how handy it is and how he moves and his forward motion. And, say you want him to look happy and have their ears up and look handy. And like a horse, you just want to ride on a ranch all day.
Yeah. Like Pickles. All happy going down the rail.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, a hay bale though. I would freak me out. I'm not going to lie. It would freak me out.
It was a little like we practiced at home, we saw the pattern. We didn't know it was going to be a hay bale. We knew there was going to be a jump. And, you look up the rules and you're like, how high can it be? And so we're like, okay, the horse I have now, his name's Plum, and he's an ex-reiner too. And so he's never jumped anything before. So my trainer, Beth Clemens, she started working on it and he did it perfect. It was so fun.
Oh, how do you even do that with the horn right there?
You hold it.
You hold it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you go, I'm like, that would stick you right in the gut. That would hurt.
Yeah, I did some jumping in college and it's a little different, but it's the same vibe. It took a while to get the stride situation to come back, but it did.
Okay. So do you have a favorite of the 3 different areas of this ranch world?
That's so funny. I was just talking about that this morning.
Mm-hmm.
It is honestly whichever one I'm doing. So I was saying that people probably think I don't give an honest answer because if you ask me and I'm working on trail stuff, I'm going to say trail. But if you ask me the next day and I'm doing ranch riding, I'm going to say ranch riding. Like it's whatever I happen to be doing is just the funnest for me. I like them all.
Okay. And I remember when I used to do the all around, and the ranch classes were growing so quickly in popularity. Like even in Arizona, I remember seeing at the Sun Circuit, it was like 60 plus in a ranch riding class at that time.
Absolutely. They're still like typically the bigger classes. At the World Show, they just came out with like the list where you like can check your classes and make sure they're still the biggest classes. Like they're
really.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just because people are taking their horses they work with on the ranch and they're like, okay, let's show? Or
yeah, I think there's probably a couple reasons. One, I think there is some of that. And then it's also a great place for reiners, cow horses, cutters that either aren't quite making it in that event or maybe are toward the end of their career and need a new job or like pickles. And so it's a great spot for them that helps them have longevity and be able to keep going and keep having a job.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
It's also just really fun. Like having done reining and then going to ranch, like, yeah, I'm still going because I want to win, right? Like I'm still going to do the best I can. I'm going to train hard. I'm going to do my thing. But there also just doesn't there's still not that same pressure for whatever reason. Like people are a little bit more like, oh, hey, good luck. And I don't know. It's just a little lighter atmosphere.
What else have you seen transitioning from the reining to ranch riding? Because I never really thought of that because reining's so intense that I never thought like the horses that still want a job but can't really do those slides and the spins. Ranch riding seems like the perfect transition to be like, here's your job.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of former reiners doing the ranch now. And I think it's great. It's great for the industry. It's great for the horses. It's great for people. Like if I were doing it over again, I think it would be great to start in the ranch and then sort of be able to move into the reining. So, I think there's definitely different ways to go about it. And I've just started doing the horsemanship too. Okay. And I think that's a great compliment to it as well. Like I use my ex-reiner does all the ranch classes and the horsemanship. So
I've seen some really cool reiners in the horsemanship. So ranch riding just seems to make sense too.
Totally does. It's so fun. And I love to like in the reining, you go to the derby or the futurity and it's like you haul all the way over there and you show one time. And if you make a split second lapse in judgment, you don't make the finals, you go home. If you're good, then you get to show again in the finals. But, there's a couple hundred horses and only 30, 40, 50 make the final, depending on what, show you're at. Where now I'm like, I was just at the NSCA World Championships was the last show I was at. I showed like every day. Yeah. I got to show in all kinds of classes. And that, to me, that it's just more fun. And I feel like I'm becoming a better horseman because I have to be versatile too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like the whole class is based on versatility. You have to be able to go on the rail. You have to be able to do an obstacle, jump a hay bale.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You might have to walk through a pen with cows in it. Like they can kind of come up with all kinds of things and your horse just has to be like, oh, okay, sure.
I think back to my all-around horse, Teddy, who was my show horse, and he would lose his mind if he smelled a cow. Like
really?
I can't imagine him ever. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay, ranch might not be for him.
No, he would not have
ranch on the rail. There's no cows in ranch on the rail ever. So
okay.
That's safe.
Yeah. So when did you get into the ranch riding, like transitioning from the reining? to
So
these classes?
last year was my first year with Pickles, and I had actually taken a couple years off of reining. I had to go through cancer treatments, and Pickles had this big injury, and so it took a while to sort of recover from that. And then we started doing ranch stuff last year in 23, and then he had to retire toward the end of that year. And I was like, now I'm just having fun. I want to keep doing it. And so we got this horse that I have now in the end of December or January, to the beginning of the year. And Beth just started working with him on the ranch stuff. And we went to Silver Dollar and Sun Circuit. And I think that they're still maybe Beth and Plum, I think, are still maybe second in the nation currently, last time I checked anyway, in the ranch trail. And I think Plum and we're top 10 in our events too. So
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks. It's been really fun. It's a great learning curve, but super fun. And I've met so many great people. Like, everyone is so helpful and supportive. And so
that's what I love to hear. That's what I love to hear.
Totally. I'm getting excited for World Show. We're practicing now and
that's coming up. That's coming up.
Planning the outfits, the whole thing.
That's the best part. Planning the outfits. What are the outfits like in ranch riding? Yeah.
Sorry,
I said, what are the outfits like in ranch riding?
So what you'd wear on a ranch. So I'm the CEO of Hobby Horse Clothing Company. So clearly I'm going in that direction. So I wear Hobby Sports. I wear our chocolate split leather chaps. But I also wear a lot of Kimes tops too. I like to wear just like a solid color top and then get like a super fun wild rag and then tie that in with the saddle blanket. But typically I personally like to do more on the browns when I'm doing the ranch. I just feel like that, maybe it's just me, but I just feel like it just looks more the part when it
feels like ranchy.
Yeah. I don't know why, but there it is. Yeah. When I do the horsemanship, I wear the black chaps, but when I do the ranch, I like to do the chocolate.
It's all about variety.
Totally. And I do love sparkles. So that is actually the hardest part, because you can't really do, sparkles aren't really a ranch thing. So I have to like hold back on the sparkles, but then I get to do it in the horsemanship with the sparkles. So it's okay.
You get the best of both worlds.
Right?
Yeah. So what is it about quarter horses that you think makes them so good at these ranch classes? Like, what makes them so successful?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just their versatility. And I think probably most everyone says that about quarter horses and whatever they're doing, because they are so versatile. So I think that's obviously key. And then I think their work ethic. Like, I think quarter horses, they want to do a job. They want to do the right thing. And so I think that's actually really helpful too, because that's so important for the ranch classes. They have to be, like, in the reining, coming from that background, that willingly guided is the big number one rule that you start with for reining. And it's the same for the ranch classes. They have to be willing to be guided and be snappy and do what they need to do and look like they would be fun to ride, which I don't know if I've ridden a quarter horse that wasn't fun to ride in my, 40 years of riding.
Like Pickles going down the rail with his ears up.
Right?
The happy camper.
Like, who doesn't want to watch a horse having so much fun?
Yeah. Oh, and okay, so this is the last question I usually ask everybody. Can you tell me like a funny story with your favorite quarter horse of all time? Either in the ring or just a quirk they have? Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Pickles. He's just such a personality. Like, he's really smart, but he also has a little like Dennis the Menace in him. So one time he removed his neighbor's fly mask and hid it. So when my trainer came, he's like, "Oh, where's this horse's fly mask?" Looking everywhere. No one can find it. Gone. Have no idea. It's a private ranch. Where would it go? Can't find it. The next day we find it in Pickles' feeder. Buried. Like, he thought he might get in trouble, and so he buried it under the food so no one would find. I don't know what he was thinking, but he'll just do stuff like that. They're like, "Come on, Pickles."
I love Pickles. I've never met Pickles.
No, he
sounds like awesome. A Pickles thing.
It's a very Pickles thing. And he's just super kind. Like, I've made him do all kinds of stuff at photo shoots, sit on him backwards, lay across him on my back. Like, he'll do anything. He doesn't care. He just wants to be around you and in whatever's happening. And so he's just an all around good animal.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kristin, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was fun, Kat.
Our next guest is Shannon Quinlan Hill, trainer at Hill Performance Horses based out of Pennsylvania. Shannon's expertise in the ranch riding classes shines in her stellar work for her and her clients in the show ring, and we are excited to chat with her today. Welcome, Shannon. Okay, Shannon, so let's just jump right in. Can you just tell me a little bit about ranch riding? Like, if we're talking to people who don't know anything about it, kind of like me, can you give me a overall description of it?
For sure. So ranch riding is based on a horse that's useful out in a ranch setting. I mean, obviously we're at a horse show and it's a horse show class, but the components are made up of what a horse would have to do out doing daily work on a ranch. So each gait gets scored. So walk, extended walk, trot, extended trot, lope, extended lope. There'll be stops and turns, lead changes, side passes, backs, etc. Things that you might come across having to do on a real job. There's also ranch trail, which is made up of different obstacles, gates, bridges, side passes, jumps, lope overs, walkovers, trot overs, things like that. A drag. And then there's ranch rail, which is basically judged on, it's like a faster pleasure class. And it's judged on which horse covers the most ground and looks enjoyable to ride from point A to point B outside on a ranch. You want the horses to have a natural head carriage, either level or above in their top line. You want them to be good movers, responsive and efficient horses with, responding to your cues, comfortable to ride and pleasant to ride. They should have good expression and look like they're alert and enjoying the job.
Okay, gotcha. So what do you think that's what makes quarter horses so good at this, is that they're so versatile and that it's kind of like their history, isn't it? Like, they're ranch horses.
Right. So like a big part of this class is preserving the history of the American quarter horse, right? And what they were really bred to do. So I think that's why, it's so big in AQHA this is what these horses are started doing. This was their original purpose. Obviously over the years, different lines have gotten specialized to different disciplines, but this is what horses were really meant to do, to work out on a ranch and go from point A to point B, long days, useful. So it's neat that this is a class that showcases that.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched it at big shows and I'm like, oh, it looks so fun. Like, everybody just looks like they're having a good time. You know what I mean? Like, it looks enjoyable.
It's everybody. It is a lot of fun. It's way harder than it looks, which, adds another fun component to it. But all of the trainers are, we're all friends. We all support each other. It's a great group of people. And I like to think the horses enjoy it too. It allows them to carry themselves naturally, both in their, head and neck and in, pace wise. They can go what pace they're comfortable at. So I do think it's a great thing for the industry, for the horses, and a lot of people have fun doing it.
Oh yeah, and the classes seem to be growing exponentially. Like, I've been out of the show ring for a while, but you just came back from the Quarter Horse Congress. So I'm curious, what did the numbers look like in these classes?
So they were huge. They were actually, somebody told me they were up 250 entries from last year even. And they were huge. I would like to think they're by far the biggest classes at Congress this year. Don't quote me on that, but I would assume, like the level 1 ranch trail had over 130 entries in it. Oh, wow. Most of the classes were in that 100 entry range, which is huge to see. That's so exciting. I know last year at the World Show, the amateur trail was the biggest class of the whole World Show. Wow. So it's definitely growing. there's a lot of interest in it. The horses are starting to be very specialized for it, which is exciting. So I do think, AQHA should be proud of what they've created there.
For sure, for sure. And then where do you see a lot of these horses coming from? Like, do you see many of them coming straight from a ranch, or do they come? I talked to another guest on here that she said her horse came from the reining and transitioned to the ranch riding. Like, where do you mostly see that transition from?
I would say most commonly they come from the reining world. A lot of what they learn in the reining are components that we need them to do in the ranch riding. And that seems to be a lot of the bloodlines that we are showing in the ranch riding.
Okay.
I think it's starting to get to the point where horses are starting as ranch riders, getting trained up the whole way, and that's their job. Where before, I think, 5 years ago, maybe, or even a little longer, it was horses that weren't fitting other disciplines. And now it's starting to be horses that this is their sole job. But I do think a lot of them come from the reiners, the cow horses. You'll have some crossover pleasure horses that, maybe didn't fit that mold, but they fit this one a little better. But I would say most commonly the reiners and the cow horses.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it does, because reining is so intense and they do a lot of this. It sounds like the similar maneuvers, but at a less intense scale.
Change speeds, turn, stop, everything. So in our program, even if they're going to just be ranch horses, we teach them certain, a certain level of the reining. Because they have to learn the same things, maybe just not to the same degree.
Gotcha. And this kind of transitions to my next question. What tips do you have for someone who maybe has a horse that they ride on a ranch, but they want to start showing this? Like, what are some tips to get into the actual competition part of it?
My go-to for that is seek out a knowledgeable horse trainer that you trust and let them guide you along the way. Go to some horse shows, get your feet wet. Everybody will be supportive. Everybody will be helpful. I'm confident in that. Everybody in the ranch horse world is very supportive, and just see where you fall in, see what you have to change, see what it's like, and make adjustments from there.
Very good advice. And then my last question that I ask everyone, can you tell me a funny story or in the show ring, out of the show ring, with your favorite quarter horse?
Oh man. Well, the funny story that comes to mind is when I first started ranch riding and ranch trail. The trail came a little after the ranch riding, and it was the year you did not have to qualify for the world show. And I took a horse that I had not shown in the trail yet and thought that was a good first venue for this horse. And in hindsight, probably not. You had to ground tie in a box, and there were some plants around, and you had to feed some cattle, and then walk back to your horse. And I walked away from this horse. He was standing nicely. Now, leading up to this point in the trail pattern, it was not good either, but he was standing nicely. I feed the cattle, I turn back around, and he has a plant in his mouth. He depotted it, and he's swinging it around, and soil is going everywhere. Oh. I had to walk over and rip it out of his mouth. I repotted the plant, put it back, waved to the judges, and just left.
Oh. You're like, he does an extra trick. Look at.
Yeah, exactly.
He likes to garden.
So
that's so funny.
Since that moment, I have some phobias about ground tying and trail in general. But I will not forget that one for sure.
Oh my gosh. And it's so funny because I remember seeing a horse do that at the Youth World Show in the the fancy trail, where so I saw a horse go, and they were at the gate, and they had a bush there, and it just bit right on, would not let go. And the poor girl's like, oh my God, I'm at the World Show. What do I do?
Yep. Oh. Yep. It was a traumatizing moment for sure. But now, you only make that mistake once. So now I train specifically for that scenario.
You're like, here's a plant.
Yeah, exactly.
I dare you, try to bite this. Oh, that is great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Shannon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Quarter Horse podcast on Horses in the Morning. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends all about the world's favorite breed of horse.